Hi everyone, I'm Brock. So today's book I want to review is My Childhood, 童年 by Maxim Gorky. So let's start. My Childhood is the first volume of Maxim Gorky's autobiographical trilogy. Serialized in from 1913 to 1914, more than 100 years ago. Based on the author's own childhood, it follows a young protagonist, Alyosha, through 8 years in his maternal grandfather's household, from his father's death to his mother's passing, and his forced entry into the world at age 11. No, no one like hardships. But hardships sometimes did happen. Well, I should say most of the time happen. Through those hardships, some people become tough, and in the future they becomes a person who bring hardship to others. But some people like Maxim Gorky digest the hardship, the misfortune, and express it with arts, right? Because this happened during around 1871. And 40 years later, he recalled what he experienced 40 years ago and write it down. And use his storage and a lot of people in his story give encouragement to future generations. That's something we should think about when we are in a hard time, right? If we cannot change what we went through, but how we understand it, how we get positive energy from it, that's something we should think about. The book caused an immediate sensation upon publication. Lenin once listened with rapt attention as Gorky recounted his miserable childhood, then urged him, "You must write all this down, old friend. It's most useful." According to Lenin's wife, in the final years of his life, Lenin had her read aloud from the newly published My Universities. The trilogy exerted a profound influence on Russian and Slovenian literature, directly inspiring works such as Ostrovsky's How the Steel Was Tempered, Makrenko's The Pedagogical Poem, and Fadayer's The Young Guard. In China, the work influenced several generations of young readers and was regarded as a textbook of life to young people. I guess that this book talk about his Alyosha's life experience between 3 to 11, and I guess that I read this story at the age around 11, maybe in elementary school or middle school. I read it and then I purchased the book with a trilogy and read through them. And now so many years passed. It's yeah. And when I read it again, it's actually give me a lot of yeah, gave gave me a lot of different feelings. My childhood belongs to the genre of autobiographical fiction, where the author reshaped genuine personal experiences through literature craft. Gorky's real name is Alyosha, the protagonist. You see, such a words should provide pronunciation. Protagonist's name in his childhood nickname. His pen name Gorky means bitter, hinting at the suffering that defined his life. Maxim Gorky, born in 1868, dying at 1939. Born in Alexa, was born into a carpenter's family. Orphaned by his father at age 3, he went to live with his maternal grandparents. His grandfather, a former Tsarist military officer, was harsh and violent. When his mother died at age 11, his grandfather forced him out of school. And from then, he fended for himself, working as a apprentice, porter, watchman, and baker. You know, lack of education, experienced the so-called, the lowest social class of the society, but finally become an odd famous or world class author who encouraged so many future generations, especially young people. You know, we cannot decide, what life put in our plate, but how we face that really makes a difference, right? In 1892, 24 years old, Gorky returned to Nizhny Novgorod and published his first story, Maka Kudro. Another name, Maxim Gorky. His early works, The Song of Stormy Petrel, The Song of Falcon. I remember The Song of Stormy Petrel. It's in the literature book, or stylistically bold and passionately critical of capitalist exploitation. Its 1898 connection, essays, and stories was a sensation that established his literature reputation. When he's 30 years old, I guess at age 13, things should become clear for us what we are good at and what we are not good at, right? Gorky maintained a lifelong friendship with Lenin and was a key supporter and financial backer of Bolshevik movement. Yet his attitude towards the October Revolution of 1917 was ambivalent. He cheered the February Revolution, but expressed grave concern about the violence that followed. In 1934, the Slovenian Writers' Union was founded with Gorky as its first president. And he helped codify the literature method of socialist realistic. Lenin called him the most outstanding representative of proletarian art. Okay, plot summary. The story opens in Askotran, southern Russia. 3-year-old Alyosha witnessed his father, Maxim. Oh, his father is called Maxim. Oh, yeah, makes sense. Dad from Chalero. His mother, Vararo, gave birth besides the coppers. The baby soon died as well. Grandmother, Kunina, took Duke's mother and child on Volga steamboat north to the grandfather's house in Nizhny Novgorod. Grandmother's fairy tales and warm personality become his first real light in Alyosha's dark world. You know, one of the key important thing which can help us go through the hardship times is that must be at least one person who can cast a light on our life. Most of the time because the love they give to us. And I think that the reflection I have is that when I'm capable to do so, can I be able to, or am I capable to put a light in others' life, right? Upon arriving, grandfather Vesky Kashirin's house, Alyosha entered the world saturated with fierce hostility. The two uncles, Mihai and Yakov, fought violently over the family property. Every Saturday, grandfather ceremonially flogged the children. Alyosha, tricked into dyeing a white tablecloth, is beaten unconscious for the first time. And from then, a layer of skin was torn from my heart, and I became actually sensitive to every human humiliation and pain. In this household, only two kind souls offered Alyosha warmth. The founding Ivan, nicknamed Little Gypsy, a 19-year-old orphan with golden hands and cheerful spirit, shares Alyosha's with his own arm during floggings. But this does not last. Uncle Yakov bought a heavy oak cross for his dead wife's grave, and little Gatsby is made to carry it on his shoulders. He stammered, and the cross crushed him to death. The master craftsman, Grigory, accused the uncles, "You crushed him." Again, Ivan is also a person who cast the light on Alyosha's life. We humans, at the end of the day, learn from other humans. Some people, we meet the so-called good people and the bad people. But whether we learn from, the good ones, turn away from the bad ones, or vice versa, or on the contrary. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. It's our bird nature. I don't know. Chapter 4 is the direworks crush the fire at night. Grandmother takes heroic command, rushing into the blaze to rescue a bottle Rachel to prevent the explosion, calming the panicked horse with her belt hands, directing neighbors like big, soft black ball. Rolling through the flames. His hand was severely burned, yet she does not flinch. Meanwhile, Aunt Latali goes into premature labor from shock and dies that night. Death follows death. Father, baby brother, little Gypsy, latterly. Sometimes I feel that when woman is more, mentally stronger than humans. Maybe that's the reason why humans can go through the hardships and survive till now, right? Yeah. Then the family property is finally divided. The two uncles set up their own households. Grandfather buys a new house. Here, Alyosha begins his education. Grandfather teach him old Slavonic letters, while grandmother nourishes his soul with an endless treasure of folk tales and songs. Alyosha gradually discovered that grandfather and grandmother worship fundamentally different gods. Grandmother's God is intimate and merciful, listen to prayers like a friend. Grandfather's God is stern and cold, ruling through punishment and fear. What you believe shapes who you are. Uncle Mihari launched a drunk siege, smashing windows, tearing fences, demolishing bathhouse. Alyosha is posted as a lookout in the Arctic. During one assault, grandmother reached through a window to plead with her son. Mikhail smashed her arm with a wooden stick. Even so, she cries out for her to flee before the others beat him. Meanwhile, Grigory, the master of craftsmen who serves the family's die, walks faithfully for years, goes completely blind, and is abandoned by grandfather, reduced to begging on the streets. You know, I always feel, on one hand, that humans create so many amazing civilizations and make me feel humanity is so amazing and is something really, really valuable. But on the other hand, I also saw so many stories that it's that humans is even more disaster than animals because animals hurt for survival. They hunt, they kill because they need to eat. But humans do a lot of harm or do damage to others not because they have to, but they want to, because of drinking, because of selfishness, whatever, right? After moving to a new house, a mysterious brother moves in. People call him good business. He's a non intellectual whose room is crammed with books and chemistry equipment. Everyone mocks him and shuns him, but Alyosha forms a deep friendship with him. In autumn garden, they sit in companionable silence, feeling thoughts as fine and transparent like spider silk. Hearing grandmother's stories, good business weeps openly and tells Alyosha, when you learn to write, record all the grandma's stories. That will be very useful. This is the earliest literature awakening of future, right? Gorky. Yet good business is eventually expelled by the household. Another person who inspired Alyosha, the coachman Uncle Petro became Alyosha's new companion, telling stories of cruelty and serfdom through a crack in the fence. Alyosha discovers the three of Ovsyannikov's brothers next door, neatly dressed, tenderly caring for each other, a stark contrast to the Kashirin household's pervasive violence. When the youngest boy falls into a well, Alyosha leaps over the fence to help rescue him, earning their friendship. Yet Uncle Peter is eventually exposed as a church robber and dies by slitting his own throat. Violence, death, full of the world of a kid of 3 to 11 years old. And most of the time, in a very high possibility that, when this kid grew up, a new circle start again. Mother Wagner returns suddenly and takes charge of Alyosha's education. One evening, Alyosha witnessed grandfather violently beating grandmother, punching, kicking, driving harsh deep into her scalp. 2 days later, Alyosha steals grandfather's cherished church calendar and cuts off the heads of saints with scissors in revenge. When confronted, he declares, I did it on purpose, so he won't dare beat grandmother again, or else I'll cut off his head, beard. Grandfather tried to marry mother off to a one-eyed bold clockmaker. She refused absolutely. In a dramatic confrontation, she strapped to her end garment and says, Drag me then. Grandfather falls to his knees. Why? I don't understand. What's wrong? Grandmother narrowed the legend of Father Maxim, a runaway orphan from Siberia who climbed walls to court mother and fought off Micaiah at church steps. The uncles once pushed father through the ice, trying to drown him. He crawled out and lied to the police to protect them. Yeah, she has a brave mom, smart and brave father. I guess yes, and a loving grandmother. So from this perspective, because of these people with love, that Alyosha finally grew up healthy. Mother eventually marries a seemingly gentle young man, Maxim. Grandfather goes bankrupt and sells the house to provide the jewelry. But the stepfather soon shows his true colors, beating mother. After witnessing the stepfather kick his pregnant mother in the chest, Alyosha sees the black bread knife. His died father's only possession, and stabbed at the stepfather. Mother pushed her husband aside. The life only grabs the uniform. Alyosha tells her, I will kill him and then kill myself. It's hard to imagine that's said by a 10 or 11 years old boy, right? In the final chapter, grandfather and grandmother completely separated their households, even dividing tea leaves leaf by leaf. Alyosha begins earning his living by connecting brags, bones, and waste paper for call caps. He befriends a group of street boys who support each other and maintain dignity and fellowship aimed at poverty. At school, the kindly bishop Christian saved him for expulsion. Mother returns with her young child, emaciated and silent. Stepfather is found again. His first son, Sasa, died. On August Sunday morning, mother coughed her health, sits at the table, looked grand again. Took a sip of water and dies. A few days later, after the funeral, grandfather tells Alyosha, well, Alyosha, you are not a medal to hang around my neck. Go out into the world and earn your living. And so I went out into the world. I remember for these sentences because this is the last sentences of this book. I remember it very clearly. Alyosha is a protagonist and a narrator. Alyosha is the novel's central character and a narrator. Gorky observed this suffocating little world through his eyes. His defining traits are respect for label and labels, hunger for knowledge, a first sense of justice and empathy, and courage to resist evil. As a fight back physically against the grandfather's flogging, cutting Saint's heads from the church calendar to avenge domestic abuse, or seizing a life against his stepfather. Character arc from an unknown toddler to an adolescent with independent moral judgment. Each ordeal makes the skin on his heart thinner, sharpening his sensitivity to good and evil in the world. But some people, the order makes the skin on the heart thicker and lose the sensitivity. Same analysis, sufferings, and resilience. Theme 2, wellness as a grammar of daily life. Theme 3, two faiths and two gods. Theme 4, education and self-formulation. Theme 5, the destruction of the good. Theme 6, macrocosm of Russian lower-class society. My reading reflection. The first one is written 2014, 12 years ago. Inside 1, the dual nature of suffering. What I said is that 我并不喜欢苦难是一种财这种说法，因为我认为它有粉饰太平的嫌疑。苦难就是苦难，它本身几乎没有记忆。真正的财富是一个人在咬紧牙关度过艰难困苦时所学到的东西。如果无法在痛苦中成长，那么痛苦只是一场噩梦而已。To be honest, I really like this. And surprisingly, that's what I said 12 years ago. Then inside 2, the power to transcend one's environment. I wrote, 那些能够超脱于客观环境的人是令我感到钦佩的。在蔑视知识的人群中成长，却能尊重知识与理性；在歹毒刻薄的人群中成长，却能待人真诚和善；在浑噩度日的人群中成长，却能抱负高远。Insight 3, the source of spiritual strength. I wrote, 人的精神力量是伟大的，也是脆弱的。我认为它很难凭空产生，一定来自于某个地方。有些源于周围人的爱，如阿廖沙从外婆阿库琳娜得到了爱；有些源于宗教信仰，如阿库琳娜从上帝那里得到了忍受不幸的力量。它也可能来自于数据对科学的热爱的。Insight 4, the responsibility to pass on strength. I wrote, 当某一天自己也有了能影响别人的能力时，我们也能把积极的力量传递出去。事实上，我们一直具有这种力量，我们能影响我们的家人朋友，否则的话，根据好人不长命，祸害1,000年的定律，这世界早就变成了地狱。Conclusions. Suffering is not wealth. What you learn from it is goodness needs guardians. Spiritual strength comes from somewhere. The cycle of violence can be broken. The record is to resist forgetting. 2 gods, 1 choice. Why this 1913 novel remains relevant today? Domestic violence, the devastation of poverty on children, education inequality, the survival of the good in hostile environments. These themes did not become obsolete with the fall of the Tsarist Russia. In many parts of the world, Alyosha's story replays every day. Gorky's greatness lies in this. He not only depicts the darkness, but sees the light within it. Bright, healthy, creative shoots of goodness. Deer stubbornly growing through the layer of bestial filth. We are all transmitters. Yeah, that's pretty much about it. Actually, to be honest, this book is so heavy. I think that I cried several times when I read this book back then when I was maybe 11 years old or something like that. On this situation, there are two possibilities. One possibility is that people began to refuse to read such books because it's just heavy. And another option is that face it and use that as a reminder. Remind ourselves that if we are capable, remember to be kind. Yeah, that's pretty much for this week's book review. Thank you, everyone. Bye.